Ever notice that the harder you try with a girl, the more you text, call and plan, the more she seems to pull away? It's frustrating. You're putting in effort, showing her you care, but somehow it's having the opposite effect. The truth is, you're not losing her because you're trying. You're losing her because you're trying too hard. I've been there, and I'll tell you this, the real key isn't chasing harder, it's pulling back. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but sometimes the less you push, the more she's drawn to you. When you stop over-investing and give her space, the entire dynamic shifts. So let's break it down. I'll show you why stepping back works, how it changes the game, and how it not only grabs her attention, but also makes you feel more confident and in control. By the end of this, you'll see relationships in a whole new way. Let's get into it. Quick heads up, guys. Most of you will never get real advice about women. You're guessing, messing up DMs, ruining relationships, and feeling lost. All those so-called gurus give you the same generic tips. Just be confident, text her more, do this, do that, and it's all nonsense. Here's the truth. I'm the only one who can actually help you get real results. And for the first time ever, I'm offering something I've never done before, a personal one-on-one chat with me. You'll get direct advice on your specific issues, whether it's DMing, sex, relationships, or anything else. No fluff, just real answers. This is a game changer. It's you and me, one-on-one. No more wasting time on advice that doesn't work. I've got 4 packages available, but this is only for guys who are serious about leveling up, and VIP spots are limited. Link is in the description. Let's get started. Point 1. When you push too hard, she pulls away. Let's face it, relationships are a lot like a dance. There's a rhythm, a flow that happens naturally when both people are in sync. But when you push too hard, when you constantly text, call and plan, something changes. Instead of drawing her closer, you're actually disrupting that natural rhythm, and it causes her to pull away. It's not personal. It's not that she doesn't like you or doesn't appreciate you. It's just human nature. When you push too hard, people instinctively back off. Imagine a time when you've been at a party and someone is aggressively trying to sell you something. They're in your face, talking non-stop, pushing their pitch on you. The more they push, the less interested you become. You start thinking, I need to get away from this person. The same thing happens in relationships. When you're always the one texting first, calling, or dropping everything to be available to her, it starts to feel like you're forcing a connection. And let's be honest, nobody wants to feel like they're being forced into anything. I know it can be tempting. You want to show her that you care, you want to be there for her, and you want to let her know that you're invested. But what you might not realize is that too much effort can actually backfire. If you're always the one putting in effort, she never gets the opportunity to miss you, to wonder about you, or to pursue you on her own terms. It becomes predictable. And relationships thrive on excitement and mystery. When you're over-invested, it creates pressure. It's like when you're constantly putting in the work, but never giving her the space to step up. Think about it. If you were always the one to make the first move, to text her first, to ask her how her day was, what room is left for her to pursue you? When there's no space for her to chase or even to miss you, the connection starts to feel one-sided, and that's a huge turnoff. What you might not realize is that people are drawn to the things that seem valuable or rare. Your time and attention, if given out freely all the time, can quickly lose their value. When you're constantly available, you're not giving her the chance to appreciate your presence. You're just another part of her routine. And let's be real, routine is the last thing that makes a relationship exciting. So, what's the fix? Step back. Instead of chasing her or constantly pursuing her, put that energy into pursuing yourself. Rediscover what excites you. Hit the gym, get lost in your hobbies, spend time with friends, dive into that project you've been putting off. Invest in your own life and let her see that you have a fulfilling, independent world of your own. Here's the key. When you start focusing on your life again, not only do you feel more confident, but you also become more attractive. Confidence is magnetic. It's not about pretending to be distant or playing games. It's about creating balance. You stop chasing and she starts noticing you in a new light. You're no longer the guy who is always available. You're the guy who has a life of his own. And that's the kind of energy that draws people in. When you pull back and focus on yourself, you begin to give her the space she needs to miss you. She'll start to wonder why you're not texting her constantly. She'll begin to see you as someone who isn't dependent on her for validation or attention. And trust me, this shift is incredibly powerful. It's not about playing hard to get, but about respecting yourself enough to create space for her to meet you halfway. This subtle shift, stepping back and living your life, is what deepens the connection. When you stop constantly pursuing and start living fully for yourself, it not only grabs her attention, but also gives her the room to pursue you as well. Relationships are most exciting when both people are showing up as their full, authentic selves, when both partners are invested in their own personal growth, and the relationship becomes an extension of that growth, not the source of all validation. That's when the dynamic changes and the attraction intensifies. She sees you as someone with a strong sense of self and purpose, someone who isn't just waiting around for her to make him feel validated. You start becoming the person who has a life, not someone whose life revolves around her. Point 2. Why being too available can backfire. Let's take a moment to think about why diamonds are so valuable. It's not just because they shine brighter than anything else, it's because they're rare. Scarcity adds immense value. The same principle applies to those limited edition sneakers that people rush to buy as soon as they drop. It's not just about their design, it's the fact that they're hard to get, and that scarcity makes them incredibly desirable. People want what they can't have, or what they have to work a little harder to obtain. Now, let's apply that same logic to your availability. When you're constantly the first one to text her, always dropping everything just to be there at her beck and call, you begin to lose that air of mystery and exclusivity. You start to feel like the equivalent of an all-you-can-eat buffet. Sure, in the beginning, it's great. There's an abundance of you to go around. But after a while, it becomes predictable and loses its excitement. It's no longer special. It's just there. And eventually, no one gets excited about something that's always available. The thrill is gone, and in a relationship, that lack of excitement can be a real killer. Think about how many times you've had a dish at a restaurant that you loved the first few times, but after you've had it a few more times, it's not as exciting anymore. It's the same thing with relationships. Constantly being available to her without any space to miss you or wonder about you turns you into something predictable, and predictability doesn't make anyone feel excited. In fact, it can start to feel draining or even overwhelming. The key to turning this around is to introduce scarcity into the mix. Not scarcity in a manipulative way, but a healthy kind of scarcity that respects your own time and energy. You don't always have to be the one to reach out first. You don't need to respond to her texts the second they come in. Think about it. When you stop being so available, you start creating an aura of intrigue. This isn't about playing mind games or being aloof. This is about setting boundaries and prioritizing your own life and needs. When you start living for yourself and your attention becomes something she has to earn, it instantly boosts your value in her eyes. She begins to realize that your time is valuable, not something that can just be taken for granted. By not always being the one to initiate or drop everything just to respond right away, you allow her the opportunity to think about you. You give her space to miss you, to wonder about what you're up to, and that's the magic ingredient that creates real attraction. When you make her work just a little bit harder for your time, she starts to appreciate it more, and when she appreciates your time more, she begins to value you more as well. That's when the real connection and attraction begin to build. When you prioritize yourself and your time, you start sending a message that says, "I'm not available just because you want me to be." You're telling her that you have your own life, your own passions, and your own goals. This creates space for the relationship to grow on healthier terms. It gives her the opportunity to step up, show more interest, and put in the effort as well. That's when the dynamic shifts from you constantly chasing to her chasing you. It might sound counterintuitive, but the key to attraction often lies in pulling back just enough to let her feel the tension of wanting you more. When you make her experience a little of the chase, it keeps the relationship exciting. Instead of it becoming a predictable routine, it stays engaging and full of potential. Now, this doesn't mean you should start playing hard to get or disappear for days just to mess with her. It's about balance. If you're always around, always giving, always chasing, it loses its value. But when you give her the space to miss you, to put in the effort herself, it shifts the dynamic. She'll start to see your time as something she has to work for, and that alone is an incredibly attractive quality. Remember, relationships thrive on mutual effort. It's not about who chases more or who gets more attention, but about how much both people are willing to invest in each other while maintaining their own independence. When you let her experience a little of the chase, you're showing her that you're someone worth pursuing, and that makes you more desirable, not less. So instead of always being available, try creating a bit of space and distance, just enough to let her feel the lack of you. Let her experience the chase, and that's how you turn the tables and start making her want you more. Point 3. A little mystery keeps things exciting. Let's face it, predictability can be a real mood killer. Think about the last time you watched your favorite TV show. What was it that made you come back episode after episode? It wasn't just the storyline, it was the cliffhangers. That moment when the episode ends and you're left on the edge of your seat, eager to know what happens next. That suspense, that mystery about what's coming up is what keeps you hooked. Without it, the excitement fades and the show loses its charm. Now here's the thing, the same principle applies to relationships. If you reveal everything about yourself all at once, sharing every single detail of your day, every thought that crosses your mind, it can make the connection feel more like a checklist and less like a journey. Relationships thrive on curiosity and discovery. When everything is laid out on the table, there's nothing left to uncover, and the magic starts to fade. When you share every little aspect of your life without leaving anything to the imagination, it can take away that sense of mystery that makes things interesting. You need to leave some room for curiosity to grow. Think about it. The most memorable experiences are often the ones where you're learning and discovering something new over time. It's the excitement of getting to know someone, and that's what fuels real attraction. So instead of spilling everything all at once, hold back just a little. Keep a few things to yourself, just enough to spark her curiosity. You don't have to be mysterious in a manipulative or elusive way, but creating a sense of intrigue can make your connection more exciting and engaging. Share interesting snippets of your day or your thoughts, but leave some questions unanswered. For example, if you had an incredible weekend, don't feel the need to go into every detail immediately. Instead, share something like, "It was a crazy weekend, can't wait to tell you about it later." That small teaser plants a seed of curiosity. She'll be left wondering what happened, and the anticipation of learning more will keep her intrigued. Suddenly, you've turned a simple conversation into something to look forward to. This doesn't mean you should be overly secretive or cold, but rather that you're cultivating a sense of mystery that keeps her wanting more. The key is to maintain just enough distance in your storytelling to keep her hooked, without giving it all away too quickly. The beauty of mystery in a relationship is that it doesn't just keep her interested, it also adds an element of excitement to your own experience. When there's always something to uncover, you both stay engaged in the process of discovery. It's like embarking on a journey with someone. There's always more to explore, more to talk about, and more to look forward to. It keeps things fresh and prevents the relationship from becoming mundane. Mystery can also spark deeper conversations. When you don't reveal everything all at once, it invites her to ask more questions, to get more involved in discovering the nuances of who you are. It becomes a dance of curiosity and connection, where both of you are invested in learning more about each other in a deeper, more meaningful way. By not giving her everything at once, you're allowing the connection to unfold naturally, rather than rushing to fill in all the blanks. Relationships should never feel like a done deal right from the start. They should feel like an ongoing journey, with new experiences and discoveries around every corner. And mystery is the key ingredient to making that journey exciting. In a world where so much information is at our fingertips, there's something refreshing and magnetic about holding back and letting curiosity guide the way. Think of relationships as a puzzle. If you give away all the pieces at once, the fun is over before it even begins. But when you leave a few pieces hidden, it keeps her coming back, wanting to complete the picture. That's what keeps the excitement alive and growing. Mystery, in this sense, isn't about playing games or being dishonest. It's about cultivating a sense of anticipation and wonder. It's about giving her the chance to discover who you are on her own terms, at her own pace. When she's invested in uncovering more about you, the relationship naturally becomes deeper and more engaging. So, next time you're talking to her, remember, it's not about telling her everything. It's about keeping a little piece of the puzzle just out of reach. Let her wonder, let her anticipate, and most importantly, let the mystery make her more engaged with you and the relationship as a whole. Point 4. Leave her wanting more. Here's an important truth to keep in mind. People tend to remember things that leave them wanting more. Think about the last time you watched a TV show or movie that ended with a cliffhanger. You couldn't stop thinking about it, right? You were left on the edge of your seat, wondering what would happen next. That suspense, that unanswered question, is what keeps you coming back for more. The mystery, the sense that there's more to be discovered, is what makes the story unforgettable. Now, this same principle applies to relationships. If you want to build real attraction and keep the connection alive, don't always aim to wrap things up perfectly or completely. If a conversation is flowing and everything feels great, don't be afraid to end it while it's still exciting. The key is knowing when to pull back, leaving a little bit of space for her to wonder and anticipate what comes next. By doing this, you're creating an emotional pull that draws her in, making her want more of your company and your presence. Let's say you're texting and the conversation is going well. Everything's light, fun, and engaging. Rather than keeping the chat going endlessly, thinking you have to fill every moment with words, try this. Take a step back and end the conversation on a positive, upbeat note. For instance, you could say something like, "Hey, this has been great, but I've got to go for now. Let's pick this up later." What this does is leave her hanging just a bit with a sense of curiosity about the next time you talk. It gives her the mental space to think about you, to wonder what you'll say next, and to look forward to that next interaction. It's important to understand that leaving her wanting more is not about playing games or being manipulative. It's not about pulling back for the sake of confusion or control. It's simply about being smart with your time and energy. If you overstay your welcome or keep the conversation going past the point where it's exciting, it can lose its spark. The flow starts to fade, and you risk falling into a routine where things feel predictable and, eventually, less engaging. When you leave a conversation on a high note, you're actually enhancing the emotional impact of the connection. You create a sense of anticipation and excitement for the next time you talk. It's like creating a positive memory that lingers, and you become someone she looks forward to engaging with again. This is how you build attraction without overwhelming her or forcing anything. Think about it. The best moments are often the ones that leave you wanting more. When you leave her with that feeling of excitement and curiosity, you're showing that you respect both her time and your own. You're not desperate for constant validation or attention. Instead, you're in control of your energy, and she begins to see you as someone worth waiting for, a person who doesn't need to fill every gap with conversation, but instead adds value when you do connect. One of the most powerful aspects of this approach is that it keeps things fresh. The less you give her at once, the more she'll appreciate what you do share. Each conversation becomes an event, something worth looking forward to, and not something that's just filling time. This keeps the attraction dynamic and keeps both of you excited about what's to come. Leaving her wanting more also ties into the idea of quality over quantity. You don't need to be texting or talking 24/7 to build a strong connection. In fact, the more you focus on having meaningful, exciting interactions without overdoing it, the more she'll crave your presence. Each conversation, each moment becomes a chance to deepen the connection, and by leaving her wanting more, you're making sure that every moment you share is memorable. This isn't about playing hard to get, but about knowing when to let things breathe. By respecting the space between moments, you give her room to think about you, to reflect on the connection, and to look forward to the next conversation with excitement. In relationships, sometimes less is more, especially when it's done with intention. So remember, it's not about stretching things out until they're dull or forced. It's about leaving a trail of intrigue. Make her curious, make her eager, and let the anticipation of what's to come keep the connection alive. That's how you turn a good relationship into something great, by creating moments that leave her wanting more, so that she'll be looking forward to the next time you make an impact. Before we end, I got over 1,000 messages from guys who missed the course, and there were only 100 spots. Since I care about my community, I'm reopening it in one day. But here's the deal, only 50 spots left. That's the best I can do. No handouts, no second chances. Everyone else, left behind. And this is the last time at this price. Next time, it's gonna cost more if there is a next time. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Don't be lazy. Hit that subscribe button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and I'll catch you in the next one.